so you can
Will
just
I
talk
start?
away and it doesn't even have to be
Okay.
ridiculous.
So when Isaac and I were about like 7 and 8, we'd start at the tree at the bottom of the grass patches in the market, and we'd run. We call it tree to tree. So we'd run from one tree to another, and then the only time we could get caught is when we were running like between the trees, and then Dad could catch us then. And we call it tree to tree, and we just do it around the market like every week.
So all everybody's wishes goes into the tree as she's sown into the ground. Because that Hawthorne tree could live for how many years do you think? 200? That's good. It could live for 400 or 500 years if lucky. So imagine that. So your wish will be planted with the tree that could live for 500 years.
Well, I don't know what kind of a tree it was, but when I was going to school, we were waiting to go into an art class, you see, and the teacher wasn't turning up. So I bet a fella that I'd climbed to the top of the tree, you see. And of course, when I went halfway up, there was no branches in it, the main trunk. So he said, Grand, we'll call off the bed, but I was you for 15 or 16, up, out to the edge, up to the top. And the following day, the tree was on the ground, they were all able to climb it.
Well, my favourite tree is the oak tree. I seen it in Green Park, which is in Yole. Yeah, I feel nice next to trees and close to trees and other types of plants.
I suppose in Australia there's a lot of trees, and they're really special because my granny loves them. So she emigrated there when she was 15. She loved the trees. Came back when she got married too, that kind of vibe. But it was her last time visiting Australia when I was there, so we were looking at a lot of trees and stuff. But there was a tree outside my aunt's house, and it had the like kind of pink orange flowers that looked like birds, and it was just so pretty. And I loved like walking home from bringing the boys to school and seeing the trees, and even just walking around, like there's always flowers falling from them. So you don't get that kind of like colour in Ireland, they're all just green, but it was just flowers falling from trees and petals and stuff. It was just so like magical, you know.
I would say my favourite tree, and I actually don't know does it exist anymore, but it's in a place called Curl Woods just down the road from here. But they're after clearing out Curl Woods, and I haven't gone back since. I used to go mountain biking with my friend around there. It's a real big tree near a kind of stream, and you used to be able to like swing off it. There was like a rope on it. It was great. So that would be my personal favourite tree.
You know, my grandmother was in Blarney. I used to go down the area below the pub, trees across the way, overlapping in the water's edge. And I'd be there, and I'd set up a cardboard box, a stick, a piece of string, and a little bit of food, thinking I could catch myself a bird and make him a pet. I did that for hours, and we were always picking berries in the summer and picking peas for the farmers, and then robbing apples in the local farms and going to the neighbours to sell them.
I would have been about 6, and there's a big old chestnut tree outside the hospital in Tipperary. It's still there actually. My mother, I think, was in hospital. Myself, my brother and sister were sitting there. We're up, climbing the trees. Basically climb up, and the tree split in two halfway up. And so you climbed up as far as you could. You kind of stood like that tree over there. You stood on that and messing around on the tree. And we had an umbrella for some reason, and we were kind of fighting with the umbrella. Yeah. And got the umbrella and messing, stuck it straight through my sister's lip.
I was afraid you were going to say something like that.
Yeah. So, yeah. Now, I suppose not a good story for a tree, but I still remember the tree because it's still there, and every time we pass it by, I still get you remember because she still has a mark on her lip from the umbrella going through her lip.
My favourite tree is oak tree, or plum tree, and apple tree, because we have an orchard out of apples.
My name is Vishaka. I live in Cork City, but I'm originally from Bangalore, India. I'm from a Hindu household. We worship trees, so we worship banana trees, mango trees, and sacred people tree, and also coconut trees. So they're part of the Hindu culture where like they give you so much, you can respect them and you can designate them more as God-like position in your life. So that's the story behind worshipping trees in India.
I do love oak trees. They're my favourite, I think, because they stand the test of time. They're there for hundreds of years before we have been and we will be, in the future. So I think when you look and you feel an oak tree as well, it kind of connects with you and kind of gives you a bit of hope as well. Thinking that, we can overcome anything in our own lives in our head as well. The longevity of life you know, it's life for humans is short, not for a tree though. So that kind of gives you some, I suppose, hope and resilience that, you know, if the tree can get through, you can get through it, you know.
My favourite tree would be the one that I have, one of the trees that I have at home, because I guess at one point when the kids were young, so we had 4 kids, we built a tree house in the tree, right? Okay, and yeah, they loved it. They used to play in that tree house, yeah, for years and years and years, and it just lasted. If I had to find a tree that was probably the most meaningful one, that would be it. Irla, what's your favourite tree? Leaves. The leaves are your favourite part, are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
My children were small, one who hadn't too much interest in doing the homework. Well, the others would be at the School of Music. We go across on Wellington Road under a tree and we get out our books, and I said, this is the tree of knowledge now, and it'll be very easy to do your homework here. And we said, it's fun.
So when we were children, one year my parents took us in our camper van down through the holiday camps in England, and we stayed at different like Butlins and Pontins and things like that. One of them we stayed at, though, there wasn't anything there. It was just a car park in this beautiful woods, and it was my favourite one. It's not a particular tree, but off to the side someone had built this little, well, they just stuck a branch in the ground and tied things to it and stuff, and we decided it looked like a child. So we spent the afternoon making more children, and there was this little collection of twig children stuck into the ground. So I thought it was really cool. It was very creepy, and I always thought of the next families going there, what they might think of it. Tree children specifically. Yeah.
Still there today. Yeah.
And did you climb trees when you were young?
Yes, we had a treehouse in our backyard as well, and there, I suppose there's trees in our backyard, and there's 4 boys and girls in my family. My parents planted an apple tree for every kid, and mine is sadly the only one that's still there. But it was always really bitter, terrible apples all my life. And then once I moved out of the house, apparently the apples became very delicious. My mum was saying she's making apple tarts now every year with those apples.
This is gorgeous, guys. We bought a house 3 years ago and we never had a garden. So we had lots of beautiful mature trees, and the kids now are building all these forts around the trees, and we've put up loads of bird feeders and bird houses, haven't we? Wow. So there's lots of new kinds of animals coming and birds, and there's lots more kind of places for them to live, and we're building all the time in our garden, aren't we? And where I work, there's a horticulture team, so we work with adults with autism, and there's a horticulture team, so they're great to give me lots of advice. And
when I was recovering in a hospital the couple of days following my open heart surgery, the folks I was sharing the room with were maybe coming towards the end of their adventure, so we were all recovering in this room. I didn't know it at the time, but there's a direct link between the heart and the brain, and yes, this story is tree related, but I had this moment where I was like, okay, I'm at the beginning of my life's adventure. What am I going to do between now and when I'm at the end of the adventure? And I realized that I couldn't continue living my life the way I had been. I decided that I wanted to work with trees, in trees, climb trees, take care of trees, and that's what I did. So that's my story about trees. I went and did a course in arboriculture. I followed my heart's desire.
Well, the tree that just springs to mind is the tree in our garden in LA, and we called her Grandma, and she was so old. That's why we called her Grandma, and we loved her so much, and we used to go up and we used to give her hugs. And there was fairy houses at the end of Grandma, wasn't there? Like little fairy doors that the fairies would come in and out of, and she was so wide, and she was going into that neighbour's garden and that neighbour's garden, but she was big and beautiful and old, and she was very special.
I'm Gary McSweeney. I'm from Midleton, County Cork, and growing up, my mother always said we slept and ate in the house, but we were brought up in the woods in Midleton. I spent many years from a very young child inside the woods in Ballyannon Woods. From back when I was 5 and 6, my father would take us swimming there, which is now known as the Slob, and nobody go near it. But there's a line of oak trees that kind of fall along the bay along there, and they're just absolutely beautiful. We've sat there, cried there, we have drank there, got drunk there, we partied, We've drowned our sorrows amongst the trees. We've hugged them, gathered pieces from them when they were broken and brought them home. And it remains still inside my art when I paint. And there is my connection to the wonderful trees of Midleton.
When I was a kid, I used to climb this evergreen. We used to play hide and seek when we were kids. And there was this evergreen that was always green, so it was so good to hide in. And I'd climb up the top of it, and I'd have a little perch. Always beautiful. I have a favourite tree in the woods. She's beautiful. Ballyana wood. You know where you go down the steep hill. So if you're going around and then you go down the steep hill, there's a tree here, and then there's actually trees. I heard they're little fairy trees into a fairy realm. It's quite cool. And the tree that well, they're all beautiful, but I just connected with that tree. It's amazing. Yeah, I love trees.
When I lived in Dungordy and there was a cat, and when she'd get scared, she'd always run up this tree way back in the far garden, and a dog would come and she'd go right up to the very, very top. And it was funny because it was always the tree that I had my swing under, and I'd always sit under, and she'd always manage to find that tree and climb up right to the top whenever she was scared. So it was a safe tree.
Did you ever climb it?
Yes, I did. It was a good tree to climb, yeah. It was easy. Yeah, that's my tree.
Oh, cherry blossom, yes. Fantastic.
Wow. And do you know what trees we have on your head? Do you have an idea? Will I tell you? So we have hazel. It's the magic tree of wisdom. We have some willow, which is another native tree. We have some gilder rose. And we have the magic tree, the fairy tree of May, which is hawthorn. So the hawthorn really suits your hair, doesn't it? Yeah, it looks very special. And we have some ferns as well, just in case.
What is your tree story?
I love this evergreen tree, and my brother Joshua and my friend Ushi and my brother's friend Ushi, that's their little hideout place. But our whole family knows it, even our dogs, but not our cat. Well, maybe our cat, but sometimes me and my brother play in it, and it's very clean. There's lots of space, and it's a very freshy place.
My name is John Walsh, and when I was young we used to live in Bealtaine, which is just outside Midleton, and we had a beautiful elm tree in the garden, and before the Dutch elm tree killed them all, and there was a lovely white blossom on them around this time of year maybe, I think. And my dad was in bed one morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, of a summer's morning, and the doorbell rang. And there was a guy from town. He was a block layer, but he was kind of fond of his drink, you know. And he must have been walking home past our house, and he knew my dad. So he rang the doorbell, and my dad got up at 4 in the morning. It was just getting bright, and this guy's name was Judge. That's what they called him, and he was outside the door, and he says, "Billy," said, "I'd just like to tell you that that's a beautiful tree you have in your garden." The old elm that used to be in the front.
We were out in Ballyana Woods, my sister and my family, and we were throwing, just outside the entrance there's a tree with a hole in it, and you always had to throw a stone into the hole in the tree. And we were at it one day, and I went and I flung the stone up at the tree, and it missed and bounced right off the bark and hit poor Grace on the top of the head. And she started bawling, crying.
I told my nephew, he was only maybe 4 or 5 at the time, that if he gets the stone into the hole, he gets a wish come true. So he got it into the hole, and then he waited and he went, "Oh!" He was really angry. And Mary said, "What's wrong?" "I didn't get my sausages."
I proposed to Sinead on Garnish Island last May, and it was under a wisteria tree, and I think that was the only wisteria tree I've ever seen around. It was the only one on that island anyway. But we walked around the whole island. I was trying to find a nice place to do it, a place that was quiet, away from all the tourists, which is a bit of a struggle. And eventually I said, "What was your favourite part of the island that we went to?" And And she said, oh, by this little Italian chalet. And I was like, all right, we'll go back there and we'll take some photos there. So I took her photo, got down on a knee and asked her to marry me. And she's here in Midleton today to try on her wedding dress.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, that is a lovely memory.
That's beautiful. And what tree do you have a tree in Midleton you like, or in the woods?
Not in Midleton, but I'm thinking of the one in my grandparents' backyard. My granddad built us a swing to swing off it every summer. So we have so many childhood memories of being out like in the shade under that tree with all my cousins.
Treedom.
As a kid, I used to climb this evergreen. We used to play hide and seek when we were kids. And there was this evergreen that was always green, so it was so good to hide in. And I'd climb up the top of it, and I'd have a little perch. Always beautiful. Oh, heaven, so nice.
The tree was outside the front garden of my granny's house in Glasheen. We used to climb up the tree all the time. Myself and my three cousins from the Netherlands, we'd always climb up. There was 3 sets of them, but we always tried to climb up the harder one. There was a picture that had 4 photos of us, the 4 of us each individually on the same branch. That was just a memory that reminded me of just the connection that myself and my family had, and the connection that my granny had with regards to bringing us all back together. And ever since that tree's gone, ever since my granny has passed, we've had to put more effort into keeping our family connected. It was just a symbolism of how it made it so much easier to be connected. But once that was gone, it was just,
Growing up, we had a horse chestnut. We had 3 big old ones. Now they were there. I don't know how long they were there, but the house is 30 or 40 years old. Climbing it and kind of just spending a lot of time in there and collecting the conkers and playing with them as well. I teach as well, and we use the conkers just to kind of talk about nature and life and trees and things like that. So it's nice.
Nice.
Nature is the key to everything. It's just the key to everything.
Treedom.